What is going on, everybody? There's actually two Cochrane variations in the Scotch. We'll cover another one at a later time. That is out of the Scotch Gambit, the London defense line. But we're going to cover the one in the Lolli variation because that's just what we're doing. E45, knight f3, knight c6, d4, knight captures d4, knight captures e5, knight goes to the only move that's a book line, knight e6, and then naturally the bishop comes to c4. This is all covered in the previous volume, volume 2. And the move that I saved for this volume was if black pushes c6, looking to push d5 and to block off white from using the d5 square, you can castle. And black may play knight to f6, and that's when magic can happen. Look at the bottom. It still says Lolli Variation. Look at this move. Knight to f7. Amazing. I'll tell you this much. There are 5 moves which prevent the knight from capturing the queen, 4 of them being the queen moving, and the other one being the king capturing. I'll put you on a little secret, which I usually don't do. You can clearly see that if the queen moves to either of the 4 squares available, the analysis says it's 7.5 or more in your favor. The only move which keeps it even Steven is the king capturing the knight. If black picks the wrong move and puts their queen on one of the 4 squares available, thankfully they're all the same response needed. Take out the knight on e6, and since your bishop covers your knight, the king can't kill the knight yet. They got to take out your bishop. Once that happens, go ahead and snag the rook in the corner, and you're good. Try to get your knight out of there at some point. You're a full rook up. The computer puts you at least 8 full points up. Now we need to learn what to do if black makes the correct move, and that is capturing your knight with the king. We play the same move, actually. We take out the knight that's on e6 with your bishop and check. They cannot take with the pawn because their queen is unprotected and they would drop it. So what black has to do, if they don't want to lose another piece, is capture it with the king. If they tried running to either of the 3 other squares available, computer's going to jump right back to +8. Fortunately, these lines are very easy, but they're unforgiving. The only move which will win the game for you is pushing e4 to e5, hitting the knight. Obviously, black has some options, so we're going to talk about every one before we wrap this video up. The worst move that they can make is marching their king another step forward and capturing that pawn on e5. If black knows these lines, he may actually play king capture e5 intentionally, because white only has one proper move that doesn't lose the game for the next couple moves. The only move which keeps you well winning is rook e1 check. Anything else will throw you in the negatives way down. Now black only has one move to run and one move to block. If he blocks with the knight, that is in fact game over. Rook capture knight check is winning. Now black can run and black can capture. If black runs, let's see what happens. Doesn't matter which one he goes to. Now you have queen f3 check. King is forced to g6. Now you have rook g4 check. If the queen blocks, you have rook capture queen check, forcing the king to h6. Queen h5 will do it. If the queen doesn't block and the king just runs, king must go to h5. And then you have queen h3 check, forcing the queen to h4 now. And then queen capture queen would be checkmate. Let's take a step back where black ignored capturing the rook, and let's see what happens if black does capture the rook. There's only one move which doesn't lose the game for you yet again, and that is queen to h5. You can think of it that the pawn's on row 2, cut the king off from row 3, and the queen is cutting him from row 5. It's like an Oreo cookie, the black in the middle and the white on the outside, reverse style. The bishop is blocking the king from going right to f, and it's your job basically to cut off the remaining squares. We're just going to show one attempt by black, throwing out pawn to d4. If this is the case, you have to remember that the knight is the first piece you move because it comes with check. Black has no other option but to go to d4. Next, you can use the bishop to walk him along farther. Now to c4. You can use your queen now to bring into the action with check, and now the king has to go to b4. Push a3, the king is forced to go to a5. Push b4, and it would be checkmate, but the bishop can come in and save the day. Recapture with the pawn, that is check. Must capture the pawn. Take the rook, put it on a4, where it's guarded by the rook with check. It would be checkmate, but the knight is now not guarded. And last but not least, bishop to d4 seals the deal. So if the king ends up taking the rook, it is automatic checkmate as well. Backing up a couple steps, when white originally checks the king, the only way to survive is bringing the king to f5. And you have to remember this move too. Queen d3 check. Now, if the king obviously marches to g4, queen h3 would be checkmate. So it's got to block with the knight at this point in time. And we're going to recommend this move. Queen captures the knight on e4, forcing the king to f6, and then go ahead and slide your queen over to h4, checking the king on the diagonal, and as soon as the king boogers, go ahead and snag up the queen. That's about as far as we're going down that line. You should have all the tools to win, guaranteed 100% if the king is so foolish and captures that pawn with the king. Looks like we have a couple more moves here. All right, we're going to finish up with two moves, the best king move and the best knight move, which is being attacked in the position at hand. I'm just going to fast forward so you can visualize how that line was achieved if you lost it mentally. All right, so from this position, the knight is being attacked. The best king move is actually king to f6. And if the king does boogie, you just want to go ahead and capture the knight with the pawn. Regardless of what black reacts to, it's going to be a nice fight. Any move, all these lines are within a pawn and a half, depending on what you do. So it's no easy win, but I think I've gotten you to the point that you've dodged all the bullets and you've been able to, shoot out a couple yourself, shots fired. We're going to finish up here with the best knight move. It's knight to d5. You want to push c4. Knight will jump to b6. You don't want to kick it anymore. You want to concentrate on getting your open files juicing. The king will typically go to f7, and you're going to have a grand old time. I appreciate you guys. It was definitely an interesting video. One of my favorites. And I'll catch you on the next. Thank you.